Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Elizabeth. I normally make cooking and mom videos, so make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Today I'm exactly 21 weeks pregnant, so I'll be talking about the symptoms I've been having and what's been going on this past week. Right now my baby is about the size of a pomegranate and weighs about 12 ounces. So in the past week or so, one big change is that I have become ravenous. I just want to eat all the food all the time and I get really hungry. Now I can't really eat big meals though, because since I have less room for my stomach, I feel full a lot faster. But I have gained a little over a pound this week. Before I was pregnant, I actually did intermittent fasting, where for the most part I would eat 2 big meals a day. But I can't really do that anymore because that's too big of a meal. So I've been eating smaller meals throughout the day. I've never really liked to eat in the morning. So I've been having a latte in the morning, and then I try before lunchtime to have something small to eat, like some fruit or some yogurt, something like that. And then around 12:30 is Dominic's lunchtime, and it's kind of hard for me to eat at the same time as I'm feeding him. But he takes his nap as soon as he's done eating. So typically what I'll do is I'll feed him and then take him up for his nap. And then I'll make another smaller meal for myself. I can eat eggs again, so I've been having like an egg and some cheese. I had a bunch of garden fresh tomatoes, so today I actually made some fresh salsa, just really simple. The tomatoes, a really tiny onion, some juice of a lime, and some garlic, salt, and seasoning. That was it. I love cilantro, but my husband is one of those people that it tastes like soap to him, so I don't normally have it in the house, or I would have thrown some of that in there, but that's okay. I just did some basic seasoning and it was really good on top of my egg. I haven't really been having any cravings, and I didn't really have strong cravings in my first pregnancy either, but something that is not normally the case with me is I'm really susceptible to suggestions of food. Like I mentioned in one of my first pregnancy videos about the meatloaf, how I normally hate meatloaf, but I saw it on TV and in a cartoon of all things, and I just really wanted to eat meatloaf then. About a week or two ago, I saw a video on chocolate chip cookies, and I haven't been able to get chocolate chip cookies out of my head, so of course I had to make a batch. So I ended up making some yesterday. They turned out to be maybe the best chocolate chip cookies that I've ever made in my life, so I'll post a picture of them here. I actually got the recipe from one of my favorite YouTubers, so I'll post a link to that video. I've been grilling a ton this year too. Normally I only grill like if we have people over, just because it's like, oh, well, we can grill a bunch of hamburgers on the grill at once. For whatever reason, I just started grilling a lot this year, even if it's just something small. But that's been really enjoyable, so I'm actually gonna grill tonight, probably salmon and maybe some Brussels sprouts on the grill. I got some squash the other day. I've never had it before, but I got a sweet dumpling squash, so I'll probably roast that in the oven, but it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Since it's now fall, we have lots of squash available at the stores. And squash can kind of be a pain to make, but it's usually really tasty and nutritious, so I'm going to try to eat more squash this fall. I haven't had too many symptoms this past week, but I did start having a little bit of heartburn. I had heartburn really bad. My first pregnancy with Dominic started around like 24, 25 weeks. So I'm a little bit before that, but also a little bit more aware of what's going on in my body. I actually had never in my life had heartburn before I was pregnant. I guess I was just one of those lucky people. But with Dominic, it started, actually my husband and I went on a little baby moon to Florida for a long weekend. And after I'd eaten a big meal, I started getting pain, like right here, right around where my stomach was. And I'm like, what is this? Is there something wrong with me? And it ran through my head that since I had just eaten a big meal, it might be heartburn, but I wasn't 100% sure. Then sure enough, I noticed a pattern. After I ate a big meal, I would get the pain there, like the burning. So I'm like, I think this is heartburn. So I'm not sure if I actually mentioned it to my chiropractor or if she noticed that my stomach was being pushed out of place. But Dominic was actually basically pushing my stomach up and giving me a hiatal hernia. So like a little piece of my stomach was pushing up kind of through my diaphragm, but she was able to push it back down. So I told my chiropractor this past week that I was starting to get a little bit of heartburn. Sure enough, she did an adjustment where she pushed baby back down and pushed my stomach down a little bit. And I haven't had any more this week. I'd have it adjusted pretty much every week after that, my first pregnancy. So we'll probably have to do that a lot, but that's okay. It is actually a little bit painful, but it's definitely worth it to not have the heartburn. The nesting has definitely started in full force this week. My freezers had gotten pretty much completely out of control, so I decided to go through and completely reorganize them, get rid of anything that was really old and or freezer burned, or I just knew I wasn't going to eat. And what I also like to do every once in a while is inventory it. Another inspiration that I've gotten from a YouTuber, so I will link her as well. She's super helpful as far as groceries, budgets, wisely using the food and ingredients that you already have in your house. So I pulled everything out of both of my freezers, well, one at a time, so it wouldn't all melt. We have a chest freezer in the garage, and it had gotten a lot of ice. It was pretty thick in parts, like a couple inches. So I got a hammer, and it was actually kind of fun. I chipped away all the ice, and then I had to pull it out of the fridge. For the little pieces, I just used my handheld vacuum and then dumped out the ice and wiped it out when I was done so it wouldn't get moldy or anything. And then I inventoried everything. So I wrote down on the notepad on my phone all of the everything that was in my fridge, and I organized it by shelf and by ingredient. So now every time I get in and out of the freezer, I make sure to adjust my list. And then if I'm looking at what I want to cook for the week or what I need as far as going grocery shopping, I can just check on my notes and see what I already have or what I might be running low on or what I need. That's definitely a project. It took me a couple hours, but I highly recommend for anyone to do that. We've also started rearranging what we want the kids' bedrooms. We're going to keep Dominic in his room and then turn the guest room into the baby room, and we have room in another room for an extra guest bed, and we have an elliptical in there, so it's now kind of like a guest room / exercise room, and then we'll have the new baby in her own room. I'm still not 100% sure what we want to do as far as decorating. I was thinking maybe rainforest animals. I think also Arctic animals would be cute, or maybe like Australian animals. I looked on Etsy as far as some ideas for decals. There's a few cute ones on there, not any that I was really digging, but I'll probably look again later and see if I can find anything else that I like. We still don't have a name picked out. We have a few that we've been tossing around that we kind of like, so we'll see if any of those stick or if we have to come up with some more. But with Dominic, we had both actually liked that name for years, so that was easy. But for a girl name, it's been a little bit harder for us, but we still have plenty of time for sure. With my belly getting bigger, luckily I haven't had any like itching or anything yet, but I've been starting to put lotion on most nights, and that helps. I'll put a link below to the one that I like to use. It's the Earth Mama belly lotion, something like that. But it smells nice and it's not super oily, so it actually rubs in pretty well. With Dominic, I'd used coconut oil and shea butter some, but those don't really rub in. So some of the t-shirts that I was wearing got big oil stains on them, which isn't a huge deal because they were just night shirts anyway, but I don't really care for the feel of the oil just sitting there. So I've really been liking the lotion. Now, as far as stretch marks go, unfortunately, they are mostly genetic, so you might see lotions and rubs saying, oh, this will get rid of your stretch marks or prevent stretch marks. That's not really possible. I did get, actually, when I was pregnant with Dominic, I didn't get any until about my third trimester. And I got one teeny tiny little one, and then after a few more weeks, I just had a ton, and they were bright red, and it looked like I had been attacked by a lynx or something. I haven't gotten any new ones yet, but I've noticed they're starting to stretch back out a little bit since my belly is getting bigger. But honestly, I know a lot of women don't like stretch marks and they think they're ugly, but I kind of actually like them. I feel like it's just like a physical reminder of what all craziness that my body went through to bring a new baby into this world, and I just think it's kind of cool. So I don't mind having stretch marks at all. So right now I'm at 4 weeks in between my prenatal appointments, which seems like forever, but I have one not this week, but next week. And then once I get into the third trimester, they'll be closer together. My next big thing is going to be the gestational diabetes test. They usually do that, I think, like 26 to 28 weeks. With my first pregnancy, I did drink the glucose drink, but these days I don't eat a whole lot of added sugar, and I try to stay away from dyes and any like super artificial ingredients. So I'm gonna ask my midwife if there are some alternatives. I've seen you can get a clear glucose drink. It still is gonna give you all of the glucose, and I'm not a huge fan of dumping 50 grams of sugar into my body all at once, but I do know that undiagnosed gestational diabetes can be a really big problem, so I definitely want to make sure that I don't have it. I am pretty low risk, and I didn't have it my first time, so I think my chances are pretty low. But I'm also going to possibly see about doing the monitoring. I'd asked my previous midwife about it, and while she wasn't thrilled with the idea, she was open to it, of me just doing like a week of the finger pricking and checking my blood sugar levels. And then you can see if they are elevated, and that is a sign of gestational diabetes if they're elevated outside of normal. That would be, kind of annoying, but at least I wouldn't have to put anything into my body that I'm not super thrilled about. So I'll talk to her at my next appointment and see what she thinks. I've also heard about people doing like 50 grams of sugar in orange juice or grape juice, or like a pancake breakfast. I've done some research into it, and it sounds like those just might not be quite as good at actually catching gestational diabetes, and obviously we don't want any false negatives in that area. Let me know what you guys are planning to do, or what you did, or if you have any thoughts in the comments. That's about everything with the updates this week, so now I'll show you the bump. I feel like she's gotten so much bigger this week. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.